The pristine halls of Galactic Central Hospital erupted into controlled chaos as emergency alerts blared through its 27 levels. Dr. Rexon Tull, chief of xenopathology, sprinted down the stark white corridor, his forearms simultaneously adjusting his medical coat, checking his diagnostic tablet, and straightening his credentials. Status report, he barked into his communicator, his orange scales flickering with stress patterns as he reached the emergency ward. The patient's vital signs flashed across his neural interface, each reading worse than the last. Patient is Ambassador Nyleth from the Centauri Council, sir, responded Dr. Mira Pax, her tentacles waving in agitation as she consulted multiple holographic displays. Symptoms appeared 6 hours ago during the Galactic Peace Summit. We're seeing total organ system disruption, but we can't identify the underlying cause. Rexan burst through the doorway of Treatment Chamber 1, where a team of the galaxy's finest medical specialists had already gathered. The sight that greeted him made his primary heart skip a beat. Ambassador Nyleth, normally an imposing figure of crystalline beauty and grace, lay writhing on the biobed, her translucent skin clouded with an alarming gray tinge. We've tried everything in the standard protocols, said Dr. Kai Nexus, the hospital's leading toxicologist. His bioluminescent markings pulsed with frustration as he gestured at the massive array of medical equipment surrounding the ambassador. Every test comes back inconclusive. It's like her body is fighting against itself, but we can't find any pathogens or toxins. Rexan approached the biobed, his secondary eyes focusing on the microscopic details while his primary set observed the larger symptoms. Have we consulted the quantum diagnostic matrix, he asked, already knowing the answer but following proper procedure. 3 times, replied Dr. Lyra Starweaver, her holographic form flickering as she projected herself from the hospital's AI core. I've processed every known medical condition in the galactic database. There's no match for this combination of symptoms. The ambassador's personal aide, a tall, willowy being named Taris, hovered anxiously nearby. The Centauri Council is demanding updates every 15 minutes, they whispered to Rexon. If anything happens to her, the peace negotiations could collapse. The political ramifications would be. Politics is not my concern, Rexon cut them off sharply, his scales now showing deep purple stress patterns. My job is to save lives, regardless of species or status. He turned to address the assembled medical team, his voice carrying the weight of 30 years of experience. I want every specialist in this hospital consulting on this case. Run every test again, no matter how unlikely. Check for environmental factors, genetic anomalies, quantum entanglement disruptions, everything. The monitors suddenly screamed in alarm as the ambassador's vital signs plummeted. Her crystalline form began to dim, the usual sparkle of her species fading to a dull sheen. Cardiac arrest, shouted Dr. Pax, her tentacles flying over the emergency equipment. All 3 hearts are failing simultaneously. Begin emergency stasis procedures, Rexan ordered, moving with practiced efficiency despite the growing sense of helplessness. Get me the experimental quantum stabilizer from Research Lab 7. As the medical team scrambled to save their patient's life, none of them noticed the small notification flashing in the corner of their communication system, Emergency Response Unit 34 arriving from Earth Station, human medical specialist on board. Rexan was too focused on saving the ambassador to pay attention to such a minor detail. After all, what could a human possibly know that the galaxy's finest medical minds hadn't already considered? He was about to find out just how wrong that assumption was. 3 hours into the crisis, the atmosphere in Treatment Chamber 1 had grown thick with tension. The quantum stabilizer hummed ineffectively as Ambassador Nyleth's condition continued to worsen. Dr. Rexon Tull watched in mounting frustration as another treatment failed to produce results. The nano-regeneration therapy isn't working, announced Dr. Mira Pax, her tentacles drooping with exhaustion. Her cellular structure is rejecting the treatment faster than we can administer it. From across the room, Dr. Kai Nexus looked up from his array of chemical analyzers. The ambassador's biochemistry is changing by the minute. It's like watching evolution in fast forward, but nothing makes sense. The door slid open with a soft hiss as Dr. Astronova, the hospital's premier neurological specialist, entered the chamber. Her phosphorescent skin glowed with a concerned blue tinge as she reviewed the patient's latest scans. I've never seen neural patterns like these, she said, gesturing to the holographic display. It's as if her consciousness is trying to escape her own body. That's impossible, Rexon snapped, though his scales had taken on an even deeper purple hue. Consciousness transfer is a myth, even for crystalline-based life forms. The ambassador's aide, Taris, chose that moment to interrupt again. The Galactic Council has called 3 times in the last hour. They're threatening to send their own medical team if we can't show progress soon. Let them, Dr. Nova retorted, her glow intensifying with annoyance. They can bang their heads against this mystery just like we are. Rexanne raised all 4 hands for silence as the monitors began singing a new warning tone. Her third heart just went into arrhythmia, he announced grimly. Dr. Pax, begin cardiovascular support procedures. Dr. Nexus, I want another full-spectrum analysis. Dr. Nova, monitor for any consciousness degradation. Chief called out Dr. Siren Bright, a junior physician who had been quietly monitoring the quantum readings. I'm detecting some unusual temporal anomalies in her crystal matrix. Could this be related to her attendance at the Peace Summit? Perhaps exposure to some unknown technology? Before Rexanne could respond, the ambassador's body suddenly convulsed, sending cascades of rainbow light throughout the chamber. The medical team rushed to stabilize her, but every touch seemed to make the reaction worse. All non-essential personnel out, Rexanne ordered as the light show intensified. Dr. Pax, increase the quantum field strength. Dr. Nova, prepare for emergency consciousness preservation if we lose containment. The hospital's AI, Dr. Lyra Starweaver, manifested in the center of the chaos. Warning. The ambassador's crystal lattice is becoming unstable at the quantum level. Structural integrity failing in multiple zones. That's not possible, Dr. Bright exclaimed, his own bioluminescent markings pulsing with alarm. Crystalline beings are supposed to be the most stable life forms in the galaxy. Rexanne fought to maintain his professional composure as he watched every treatment, every intervention, every desperate attempt fail one after another. His reputation as the galaxy's leading xenopathologist was crumbling as fast as the ambassador's health. A priority message flashed across all their neural interfaces. Galactic High Council demands immediate action. Diplomatic crisis imminent. As if we weren't already doing everything possible, muttered Dr. Nova, her glow now a frustrated red. Try the experimental phase shift therapy, Rexanne commanded, knowing it was a long shot but running out of options. Dr. Nexus, prepare the quantum realignment chamber. Dr. Pax, begin molecular stabilization sequences. As the team scrambled to implement his orders, Rexanne noticed something strange in the ambassador's readings. There was a pattern there, something familiar yet maddeningly out of reach. He had seen something like this before, but where? The treatment chamber's door chimed again, and a small figure in an Earth emergency response uniform stepped in. The human was so unassuming that Rexanne almost ordered them out with the other non-essential personnel. Excuse me, the human said quietly, raising a hand, but I think I might know what's wrong with your patient. Rexanne barely spared them a glance as another alarm began blaring. Unless you have extensive experience with crystalline-based life forms and quantum medical procedures, I doubt you can help. The human's response was lost in the sound of multiple systems screaming warnings as the ambassador's condition took another dire turn. Whatever this human thought they knew, Rexanne was certain it couldn't possibly be relevant to this unprecedented medical crisis. He was about to learn that sometimes the most profound insights come from the most unexpected sources. Jessica Winters took a deep breath and stepped forward, her standard-issue Earth Medical Corps uniform standing out starkly against the advanced alien technology surrounding her. My name is Dr. Jessica Winters, Emergency Response Unit 34, she announced, raising her voice to be heard over the cacophony of alarms. Dr. Rexanne Toll spared her another brief glance, his scales flickering with impatience. This is hardly the time for introductions, human. We have a critical situation here. I can see that, Jessica replied calmly, pulling out an old-fashioned paper notebook. And I can also see that your patient attended the Peace Summit today, where they served refreshments from 27 different worlds. Dr. Mirapax's tentacles writhed in irritation. We already checked for food-based reactions. The ambassador's quantum structure is collapsing. This goes far beyond a simple allergic response. Jessica held up her hand, continuing as if she hadn't been interrupted. The summit was held in the new Harmony Gardens facility, correct? With its newly installed atmospheric processors. What could that possibly have to do with Dr. Kai? Nexus began, but Jessica pressed on. Those processors use a crystalline matrix to filter atmospheric contaminants. But they're based on Centaurian technology, designed for non-crystalline life forms. She flipped through her notebook. 3 weeks ago, Earth Emergency Services responded to a similar case at our embassy. Much smaller scale, of course. Just a decorative crystal structure that started exhibiting unusual properties. Dr. Astronova's phosphorescent skin pulsed with skepticism. Are you comparing the ambassador of the Centauri Council to a piece of decoration? Not comparing, Jessica said, walking over to examine the ambassador's clouded form. Making a connection. Your quantum readings show degradation patterns, but you're looking at them as a medical issue. What if it's more like resonance? Rexanne's secondary eyes narrowed. Resonance? That's absurd. The ambassador is a living being, not some primitive sound-conducting crystal. But she is crystalline-based, Jessica pointed out, and living crystals still follow basic physical laws. May I? She gestured to the diagnostic panel. We don't have time for primitive human theories, Rexanne snapped as another alarm joined the chorus. Dr. Nova, begin the consciousness transfer preparations. Dr. Pax, increase quantum stabilization to maximum. Jessica stepped back, watching the alien doctor's work. She pulled out an ancient Earth device that made several of the alien staff stare in disbelief. Is that a tuning fork? Dr. Siren Bright asked incredulously. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways, Jessica replied, striking the fork against her palm. She held it near one of the diagnostic sensors, watching the readings carefully. Remove that primitive instrument at once, Rexanne ordered. You'll contaminate our readings. But Dr. Nova's glow had shifted to a curious yellow. Wait, look at the quantum resonance patterns when she does that. The holographic form of Dr. Lyra Starweaver flickered rapidly, detecting harmonic interference patterns in the ambassador's crystal matrix. Correlation with human's device 87%. That's impossible, Rexanne muttered, but his scales were showing patterns of uncertainty. Nothing's impossible in medicine, Jessica said quietly. That's the first thing they teach us in human medical school. The second thing is to always start with the simplest explanation. She turned to face the assembled alien doctors, her expression serious but confident. Your atmospheric processors are running at a frequency that's causing subtle resonance disruption in crystalline structures. For non-living crystals, it just causes minor degradation over time. But for a crystalline-based life form, it would cascade through their entire system, Dr. Nova finished, her glow brightening with realization, creating exactly the kind of quantum instability we're seeing. Rexanne's scales shifted through several colors as he processed this information. But how could we possibly treat such a condition? Even if you're right, the damage is already extensive. Jessica smiled, holding up her tuning fork. The same way you stop any destructive resonance. You introduce a counterharmonic. The alien doctors stared at her, then at the simple metal instrument in her hand, then at their dying patient. The monitors continued their urgent warnings as the ambassador's condition deteriorated further. This is preposterous, Rexanne said at last. You're suggesting we try to save one of the most important diplomatic figures in the galaxy using what amounts to an ancient Earth musical instrument? No, Jessica replied, her eyes twinkling. I'm suggesting we use your extremely advanced quantum medical equipment to do exactly the same thing, just on a much larger scale. Unless, of course, you have a better idea. The silence that followed was broken only by the steady beeping of the ambassador's failing life support systems. Dr. Rexanne Toll stood frozen in indecision, his scales rippling between the purple of stress and the green of contemplation. The ambassador's condition was deteriorating by the second, and here was this human suggesting they abandon cutting-edge quantum medicine in favor of basic wave theory. Show me, he said at last, his voice tight with barely contained skepticism. Jessica Winters wasted no time. Dr. Starweaver, can you display a three-dimensional model of the ambassador's crystal matrix from 6 hours ago, before symptoms began? The AI's holographic form shimmered as she complied, projecting a complex lattice structure into the air. The pattern gleamed with perfect symmetry, each facet aligned in harmony with its neighbors. Now show us the current structure, Jessica requested. The image shifted, revealing distorted patterns and chaotic interference waves rippling through the matrix. Look here, she pointed to a particular section. See how the disruption patterns radiate outward. Classic harmonic interference. You've been treating the symptoms, the organ failures, the consciousness disruption, but not the root cause. Dr. Nova's bioluminescence pulsed with sudden understanding. The atmospheric processors, they're running at exactly the right frequency to create a destructive resonance pattern. But we checked for environmental factors, Dr. Pax protested, her tentacles weaving patterns of confusion. You checked for toxins, radiation, pathogens, Jessica explained. But sometimes the simplest things can be the most devastating. Like pushing a child on a swing, time it wrong, and nothing happens. Time it right. And the amplitude increases with each push, Dr. Bright finished, his own bioluminescent markings glowing with excitement. Basic physics. Jessica nodded. The ambassador's crystalline structure is literally being shaken apart at the quantum level. But if we can introduce a counterharmonic wave, we could cancel out the destructive resonance, Rexon said slowly, his scales shifting to the blue of revelation. Dr. Starweaver, reconfigure the quantum stabilizer to generate a harmonic wave pattern matching the ambassador's base crystal frequency, but exactly out of phase with the atmospheric processor's emissions. Calculating optimal frequency, now the AI responded. But the equipment wasn't designed for this kind of application. We'll need to modify. No time, Jessica interrupted. She pulled out her tuning fork again. We need to prove the concept first. Dr. Nova, can you adjust your sensor array to amplify and modulate this frequency? The neurological specialist's glow brightened. Already on it. Dr. Nexus, we'll need your phase shift generators to distribute the wave pattern. This is highly irregular, Terrace. The ambassador's aide spoke up from the corner. The council would never approve of such a primitive approach. The council isn't here, Rexan said firmly, his scales now showing the decisive red of action. Proceed, Dr. Winters. Jessica struck the tuning fork and held it near the ambassador's crystalline form. Dr. Nova's equipment picked up the vibration, amplified it, and channeled it through the phase shift generators. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, almost imperceptibly, the clouded patches in the ambassador's form began to clear. It's working, Dr. Pax exclaimed, her tentacles dancing with excitement. The quantum degradation is slowing. Dr. Starweaver Rexan commanded, full power to the quantum stabilizer. Modulate the output to match Dr. Winter's harmonic frequency exactly. The room hummed as the advanced alien medical equipment synchronized with the simple Earth tuning fork. On the monitors, the ambassador's vital signs began to stabilize. The chaotic light show of quantum disruption faded, replaced by the natural, steady glow of healthy crystalline biology. Consciousness patterns returning to normal, Dr. Nova reported, her own glow a brilliant yellow of joy. Crystal matrix re-establishing standard harmonic resonance. Jessica stepped back, allowing the alien medical team to take over with their more sophisticated equipment. She smiled as she watched them work, noting how they now moved with confidence and purpose, no longer scrambling in panic. I don't understand, Dr. Bright said, turning to Jessica. How did you know? We had the most advanced diagnostic equipment in the galaxy, and we missed it completely. Because sometimes we're so focused on looking for complex solutions that we miss the simple ones, she replied, tucking her notebook away. Human medicine learned that lesson the hard way, over thousands of years. The most elegant solution isn't always the most complicated one. Rexan approached her, his scales now showing the respectful gold of professional admiration. You mentioned a similar case at the Earth Embassy? Why wasn't this reported to the Galactic Medical Council? Jessica shrugged. We did report it. Filed it under basic resonance disorders. I guess everyone was too busy looking through the quantum pathology and xenobiology sections to check the physics department. A reminder, Dr. Starweaver's holographic form interjected, that medicine is not bound by our artificial divisions between disciplines. Perhaps we should consider updating our filing systems. The ambassador's form was now almost completely clear, the natural rainbow shimmers of her species returning to full brightness. Her vital signs had stabilized, and her 3 hearts beat in perfect rhythm. We'll need to adjust the atmospheric processors, Jessica noted, and check other facilities using similar technology. This could have happened anywhere with crystalline-based life forms. Rexan nodded, his secondary eyes fixed on the medical readings, while his primary set regarded Jessica with newfound respect. To think we nearly lost one of our most important diplomatic figures because we were too focused on quantum mechanics to remember basic wave theory. That's the beauty of having multiple perspectives in medicine, Jessica replied. You never know which approach will be the right one until you try, even if it seems too simple to be true. The next hour in treatment chamber 1 transformed from crisis management to celebration as Ambassador Nilet's recovery progressed with remarkable speed. The quantum stabilizers hummed in perfect harmony with the corrective frequency, their energy washing through the room in waves that made the ambassador's crystalline form shimmer with renewed vitality. Neural patterns returning to baseline, announced Dr. Nova, her phosphorescent skin glowing a brilliant gold of success. Consciousness integration at 98% and climbing. Jessica Winters stood back, watching the alien medical team work with their sophisticated equipment. They had taken her basic solution and elevated it to new heights, fine-tuning the harmonic resonance with precision that her simple tuning fork could never achieve. Remarkable, Dr. Pax murmured, her tentacles weaving complex patterns of amazement as she studied the readouts. The crystal matrix is not just stabilizing, it's actually strengthening. The forced resonance seems to have triggered some sort of self-repair mechanism. The ambassador's aide, Taris, practically bounced with excitement. The council will be overjoyed. But how do we explain that we saved their most important diplomat with what amounts to musical therapy? Sometimes the oldest solutions are the best ones, Jessica replied with a smile. Though I have to admit, your quantum stabilizers do it much better than my tuning fork. Dr. Rexan Tull approached the bio-bed, his scales now showing a complex pattern that Jessica hadn't seen before. Ambassador, can you hear us? The crystalline form on the bed shifted, rainbow lights dancing through its now clear structure. Perfectly, Doctor, came the musical response. Though I must say, I have never heard such interesting harmonics in a medical treatment before. How do you feel? Dr. Bright asked, barely containing his enthusiasm as he monitored the quantum readings. Like I've just emerged from the most refreshing resonance chamber, the ambassador replied. Though I believe I owe my thanks to an Earth doctor. Jessica stepped forward with a respectful nod. Dr. Jessica Winters, ambassador. Though really, it was a team effort. I just provided the initial idea. Your medical staff did the real work. Don't minimize your contribution, Rexan interjected, his scales rippling with the gold of respect. Without your understanding of basic wave mechanics, we might have lost the ambassador while searching for increasingly complex quantum solutions. Dr. Starweaver's holographic form flickered thoughtfully. I have updated our medical databases to include resonance disorders as a primary diagnostic category for crystalline-based life forms. I've also taken the liberty of cross-referencing Earth's historical medical records regarding harmonic therapy. Our ancient healers would be amazed to know their techniques would one day save an alien ambassador, Jessica chuckled. They were using tuning forks for therapy thousands of years before we even knew other intelligent life existed. The ambassador's crystalline form chimed with amusement. Perhaps this is why the humans have proven such valuable additions to the galactic community. They remember their past while embracing the future. Dr. Nova's glow pulsed with curiosity. It's quite humbling, really. We've spent centuries developing quantum medicine, only to be reminded that the fundamental laws of physics still apply, regardless of how advanced our technology becomes. That's what I love about human medicine, Jessica said, helping to adjust one of the harmonic projectors. We keep everything in our toolkit, from ancient healing techniques to cutting-edge technology. You never know what might work. Speaking of working, Dr. Pax interjected, her tentacles gesturing at the readings. The ambassador's crystal matrix has now achieved 110% of normal stability. The treatment isn't just healing the damage, it's actually improving overall structural integrity. Rexan's scales shifted to show both pride and humility, an interesting combination that made Jessica wish she had her notebook handy. I believe this calls for a revision of our standard treatment protocols. Dr. Winters, would you be willing to consult with our staff on incorporating some of your Earth medical perspectives? I'd be honored, Jessica replied. Though I suggest we start with adding some basic physics textbooks to your medical library. Sometimes the simplest solutions are hidden in plain sight. And perhaps the ambassador chimed in, her form now glowing with perfect health. We should consider establishing a formal exchange program between Earth's medical facilities and our own. Clearly, both sides have much to learn from each other. As if to punctuate the ambassador's words, the last of the warning monitors fell silent, replaced by the gentle hum of maintenance systems and the subtle resonance of the harmonic therapy still working its magic. Taris was already speaking rapidly into their communicator, updating the Galactic Council on the success of the treatment. The Council is amazed. They're already calling this a breakthrough in cross-species medical cooperation. Just wait until they hear it all started with a tuning fork. Dr. Bright laughed, his bioluminescent markings pulsing with joy. Jessica watched as the alien medical team began their post-treatment procedures, each of them now approaching their advanced equipment with a new appreciation for the basic principles behind it. Sometimes, she reflected, the biggest breakthroughs came not from developing new technologies, but from remembering the simple truths that had always been there. 2 weeks after the ambassador's miraculous recovery, the Galactic Central Hospital had undergone a transformation that went far beyond its newly adjusted atmospheric processors. Dr. Rexan Tull stood in his office, watching medical teams through the transparent walls as they practiced with an assortment of both quantum medical devices and surprisingly simple Earth instruments. The latest results from the resonance therapy trials are in, announced Dr. Mira Pax as she entered the office, her tentacles carrying multiple data tablets. We've successfully treated 15 cases of quantum instability in crystalline-based life forms across 3-star systems. The medical council is calling it the Winters Protocol. Rexon's scales flickered with amused satisfaction. Dr. Winters was quite embarrassed when they told her. She insisted it should be called the Basic Wave Theory Protocol instead. Humans and their modesty, Dr. Nova commented as she walked in, her glow a pleasant shade of contentment. Though I must admit, since we started incorporating their diagnostic approaches, our success rates have improved by 32%. The office door chimed again as Dr. Bright entered, practically bouncing with excitement. You won't believe what we just discovered. Remember those ancient human acupuncture techniques? We analyzed them with our quantum sensors, and there's actual scientific basis for the energy meridians they mapped thousands of years ago. At this rate, we'll need to establish an entire department dedicated to studying historical Earth medicine, Rexan mused, his scales showing patterns of thoughtful consideration. Already in progress, Dr. Starweaver's hologram materialized, displaying a series of architectural plans. The Council has approved the construction of the Earth Medical Integration Wing. Dr. Winters has agreed to head the department, though she insists on having both human and alien staff. Rexan walked to his window, watching as a group of medical students, both human and alien, practiced using simple mechanical stethoscopes alongside quantum scanners. When I started my medical career, I never imagined I'd see the day when we'd be learning from a species that still largely relies on chemical pharmaceuticals. That's what makes it so brilliant, Dr. Nova replied, her glow pulsing with enthusiasm. They had to develop such innovative approaches precisely because they lacked our technology. It forced them to truly understand the fundamental principles. A notification flashed across their neural interfaces. The hospital's first batch of hybrid diagnostic machines had arrived. These new devices combined advanced quantum scanning technology with basic Earth medical principles, creating something entirely new. Dr. Tull called out a familiar voice. Jessica Winters walked in, now wearing the formal robes of a Galactic Medical Council consultant. The ambassador just delivered her speech to the council about her experience. You might want to see this. She activated the holographic display, showing Ambassador Nyleth addressing the assembled council members, her crystalline form gleaming with perfect health. This incident has taught us a valuable lesson, the ambassador's musical voice rang out. We have become so enamored with our advanced technology that we sometimes forget the fundamental truths that underpin it. The humans, with their relatively young civilization, have reminded us that true wisdom comes not from complexity, but from understanding. Rexan watched the speech, his scales showing a complex mix of pride and humility. You know, Dr. Winters, when you first walked into that treatment chamber with your tuning fork, I thought you were going to make things worse. Jessica laughed. Believe me, I was terrified. But sometimes you have to trust your instincts, even when faced with technology centuries ahead of your own. That's exactly why we need this integration program, Dr. Pax interjected, her tentacles gesturing expressively. Your people's ability to think outside conventional boundaries, combined with our advanced technology, the possibilities are endless. The meeting was interrupted by an emergency alert. A trading vessel had suffered a massive systems failure, and several crew members of different species were being brought in with severe injuries. Perfect timing, Rexan said, his scales shifting to action mode. Let's see how our new hybrid approach handles a real emergency. Dr. Winters, would you care to join us? Wouldn't miss it for the world, Jessica replied with a grin. Though I might leave the tuning fork behind this time. As they hurried toward the emergency ward, Dr. Bright spoke up. You know, we've started getting applications from other human doctors wanting to join the program. Apparently, word has spread about how one Earth medic revolutionized galactic medicine with a simple musical instrument. We didn't revolutionize anything, Jessica corrected as they walked. We just reminded you of something you already knew but had forgotten. Sometimes the best way forward is to take a step back and remember the basics. Rexon's scales showed a pattern that Jessica had come to recognize as philosophical amusement. And that, Dr. Winters, is precisely why we need humans in our medical community. You have an extraordinary gift for finding elegance in simplicity. The doors of the emergency ward opened before them, and they could hear the incoming medical transport approaching. As both human and alien medical staff prepared for action, Rexon realized that his hospital would never be the same. And that, he reflected as his scales rippled with anticipation, was definitely for the better. Well, Jessica said, pulling on her medical gloves alongside her alien colleagues, shall we show the galaxy what human and alien medicine can do together? The answer was written in the confident movements of every medical professional in the room, human and alien alike, as they prepared to face whatever challenges awaited them. The future of galactic medicine had arrived, and it was more exciting than anyone could have imagined. 6 months after the infamous tuning fork incident, as it had come to be known throughout the medical community, the grand opening of the Earth Medical Integration Wing at Galactic Central Hospital drew visitors from across the galaxy. The sleek new facility seamlessly blended ultra-advanced alien technology with traditional human medical wisdom, much like the staff that worked within it. Dr. Rexon Toll stood at the podium, his scales gleaming with pride as he addressed the assembled crowd. When I first became chief of xenopathology, I believed I had seen everything the medical field had to offer. Then a human walked into my emergency room with a piece of metal from Earth's Bronze Age and proved me wonderfully wrong. The audience laughed, especially the ambassador, whose crystalline form chimed musically with amusement. She had become a regular visitor to the hospital, though thankfully no longer as a patient. You know what the funniest part is? Dr. Mira Pax whispered to Jessica Winters as they watched from the side of the stage, her tentacles curled in amusement. We've had to start a waiting list for alien doctors wanting to learn what they call primitive human diagnostic techniques. Better than the time Dr. Bright tried to explain human reflexes to his students, Jessica replied with a grin. I never thought I'd see a room full of alien doctors so fascinated by someone hitting my knee with a rubber hammer. Dr. Nova's bioluminescence pulsed with remembered mirth. My personal favorite was when that Rigelian specialist insisted we must be hiding quantum technology in our stethoscopes. He just couldn't believe something so simple could work so well. On stage, Rexon continued his speech. Some have asked why we need this new integration program. Why should we, with our advanced quantum medicine, pay attention to the medical practices of a younger species? To them, I say look around this room. The audience did just that, taking in the remarkable sight. Human doctors chatted with tentacled specialists about treatment protocols. Holographic medical students practiced with both quantum scanners and simple pressure cuffs. Through the windows, they could see the hospital's new garden, where Earth medicinal plants grew alongside alien healing crystals. This is not about old versus new, or primitive versus advanced, Rexon declared, his scales showing the complex pattern that Jessica now recognized as passionate conviction. This is about understanding that medical wisdom comes in many forms. Sometimes it arrives in a quantum processor, and sometimes it comes at a tuning fork. Dr. Starweaver's hologram flickered into view beside Jessica. Speaking of tuning forks, did you know that 17 different alien species have now incorporated harmonic therapy into their standard treatment protocols? Your little musical instrument has quite the fan club. Just wait until they discover chicken soup, Jessica joked, causing nearby alien doctors to look at her curiously. Never mind, that's a lesson for another day. The ceremony concluded with the official ribbon cutting, performed jointly by Ambassador Nylith and Jessica using a ceremonial laser scalpel. As the crowd moved inside to tour the new facility, Dr. Bright approached with an eager group of students. Dr. Winters, would you mind demonstrating that thing with the rubber hammer again? The students have a theory about the quantum implications of human reflex arcs. Only if Dr. Tull agrees to let them test his reflexes too, Jessica replied with a mischievous smile. For comparative analysis, of course. Rexon's scales flickered with mock horror. I believe I have an urgent meeting to attend. Too late, Dr. Nova called out, her glow bright with amusement. It's for science, Chief. As the impromptu demonstration began, Drawing an increasingly large and fascinated crowd, Taris sidled up to Jessica. You know, the Council has received 47 formal requests from alien medical schools wanting to establish similar integration programs. You humans have started quite the revolution in galactic medicine. Not a revolution, Jessica corrected, watching as Rexan good-naturedly submitted to the reflex tests, his scales showing patterns of both embarrassment and amusement. More like a reminder. Sometimes the best way to move forward is to remember what worked in the past. The day concluded with a celebration in the hospital's main atrium, where human and alien medical professionals mingled freely, sharing stories and knowledge. Someone had even brought a collection of ancient Earth medical instruments, which drew as much attention as the latest quantum diagnostic equipment. You know what this reminds me of, Dr. Pax mused, watching the scene. Those old Earth stories about country doctors who knew their patients so well they could diagnose problems just by talking to them. We still have doctors like that, Jessica said. Though I have to admit, being able to literally see your patient's emotions through their scales or bioluminescence does make diagnosis a bit easier. Perhaps Rexan joined them, his scales still showing traces of embarrassment from the reflex demonstration. That's the real lesson in all of this. Technology is wonderful, but it should enhance our medical intuition, not replace it. Dr. Starweaver materialized one last time. Update: the hospital's efficiency ratings have increased by 47% since implementing the hybrid approach. Also, patient satisfaction is at an all-time high, particularly among those who received both quantum therapy and what one patient called a good old-fashioned human checkup. As the celebration continued around them, Jessica looked out at the stars visible through the atrium's transparent dome. Somewhere out there, other hospitals were already beginning their own integration programs. The future of medicine in the galaxy would be neither purely human nor purely alien, but something new and wonderful. So Dr. Winters, Rexan asked, his scales showing genuine curiosity, what other ancient human medical wisdom should we be preparing ourselves for? Jessica grinned. Well, there's this thing called acupuncture that I think you're going to find fascinating. The gathered doctors groaned in anticipation of another paradigm shift, but their expressions, whether shown through scales, tentacles, or bioluminescence, all shared the same eager curiosity. The next chapter in galactic medicine was just beginning, and nobody could wait to see what they would discover together.